Welcome to Bootstrapped Unicorns. I'm your host, Josh Pies, the chief attention getter and hippie capitalist at C47 Digital Studios. This show is an exploration of entrepreneurship because it's important to hear people's inspirational stories of where they were and where they're going and how they've gotten to where they are. But even more important is to glean all those tactical, actionable data points that we can use on our own journeys as we grow our businesses and we can say, yes, we bootstrapped to become a unicorn. Bootstrapped Unicorns, we are back. And as I promised you on last episode, I didn't know who was coming next, but it was going to be somebody of high value that you must listen to. And I didn't realize that my friend Markus was on his way into the studio by remote. That's how we do. And he is here today. Markus Kaulius is somebody where you just need to go crisscross applesauce and listen to this man because he has wisdom, he has expertise, and he's got a real story. You know, there's a lot of charlatans out there who are all like, I know what I'm talking about. I listened to Gary Vaynerchuk and I will tell you what he said in my own voice. And then there's guys who have actually been there and done that. He's done the hard work to create a very large business. He has sold that business. And now he is pouring his finances and his expertise into other businesses. And this is the conversation that we entrepreneurs need to understand better because a lot of us haven't done what he's done. So we need to sit at the feet of people who have figured it out. So Markus, I'm honored to know you and I'm glad you're carving out some time for me. First of all, how have you been?
Oh, brother. First of all, thank you for that. Thanks for the intro. And I've been really looking forward to spending more time with you. When you reached back out to me and said, I got to get you back in here, I was like, yes, how soon? Let's go. So thank you.
You know what? That's actually true. Hey, audience, his enthusiasm is real. It's like that. You can actually feel it through his emails. It's really fun.
I live with a lot of gratitude and I see these kind of opportunities and you sent such a beautiful message, a beautiful video to me. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to hang out with you again. So thank you for that. I've been awesome.
Good.
Life has gotten even more crazy awesome over the last few months. So and it's everything you and I were planning on talking about today. So
good.
There's a lot of good we're going to get into today.
Awesome. All right. So let's get into it a little bit. I know the last time we talked at length, you had harvested your nutrients company and give me the name again. It was
Magnum Nutraceuticals.
Nutraceuticals. Thank you for saying that. I stumble over it unless somebody else has already said the word, and then I follow you. There's like a surprise B in there somewhere. I'm not sure why, but the nutraceuticals company you sold, and you spent time, auditioning other people's ideas and businesses, and then pouring, finances and expertise in. But what surprised me was how many you were in at the time. I think you said 27 when we last spoke. Yeah.
It was around there. Yes.
Yeah.
I honestly, I've lost track and it's not like a number I need to know, but as you and I talked off camera, it's gone up since then.
Right. Okay. So are you enjoying doing this?
I love this. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And in every way, I know it's using every one of my favorite talents to use, my blessings to use, the way I get to pour back into people. And just for clarity, because people are maybe listening and going like, oh yeah, being an investor and putting money into people's companies. Yeah, that's exactly who I'm supposed to be. That's a weird thing. I do more than that. And I know this is exactly where we're going to go with this conversation.
Just keep going.
I'm really careful on who I invest in. And when I decide to invest and really feel called to invest, I don't just invest my money. It's my time. It's my coaching. It's my mentoring. And when I sense that the entrepreneur or the CEO is very coachable, very leadable, we have an exceptional relationship. And that's when I love to pour into it because I want to know that I'm making an impact. And it's not just with the dollars. Like I can put those dollars anywhere, but to back my dollars up with, hey, I also want to support you and help you along your path. And it's not just like, hey, here's what's going to happen in business. Here's what's going to happen in business. It's going to negatively impact your family, negatively impact your health, your relationships, all these things. I would love to show you those pitfalls so you can avoid them, so you can actually have a truly fulfilling life that is really well balanced.
So I think you're the only investor I've met who has that tack with your investments. Now, I've seen some want to have a board level position because it's a lot of money and they need to have influence. I've seen that version of it, but you're going deeper than I think I'm used to. Are you the unicorn? Are you the only one doing this? Or is there a crowd of investors who have this type of ethos?
That's a great question. And I don't know how to answer that. I haven't met any, but I'm not saying like, oh yeah, so I'm one and only. I would never have the ego to say such a thing. I just know this is what I'm called to. And, on that, I just want to share something that happened just a few weeks ago. One of the companies that I was called to invest in, it's called Flowhana, by the way. It's an app that hasn't quite launched yet, or maybe it will by the time this comes out. And it's a study app. And it's a really cool platform that it connects people who are struggling a little bit to stay focused. And by the way, Josh, you and I are in the same kind of age bracket that this blows my mind. On YouTube, there's a bunch of videos that are just people studying, like literally just like you're tuning in to watch me study. And these have hundreds of millions of hours of watch time because today's kids, including mine, feel more comfortable if they're like right next to a person who is also studying. So Flowhana is putting people together to study and to keep each other accountable. So it's really cool. I invested in them because they are amazing entrepreneurs. And when we had our call recently, they jumped right into it, like trying to explain to their investor, because I've invested in them some time ago. Oh yeah, here's what's going on. Guys, can I just pause you for a second? You want to talk about business? Fantastic. If there's stuff you're excited about, yeah, I want to hear it. But I just want to be really clear. That's not the relationship I want to have with you. I want to help you. So you can share the business stuff with me, but actually what I want to do is I want to get deep into what's going on in your life, because I'm not the business whisperer. I'm the CEO whisperer. I want to help you become the best version of yourself, because if I do that, that business is going to go bonkers. And that's all I want to do is I want to make sure you are doing exceptionally well. So let's dive a little deeper. What is going on in your life right now that maybe you're struggling with, that you're feeling challenged by, that is holding you back from showing up as your best self every day? And then when we peel back those layers and I give them some of whatever I've got, they can walk away even from that very phone call and go, I am a better version of myself right now. I will show up to work better right now. And that makes a beautiful, positive impact on that business.
How much of your investment decision is the idea and or existing business versus your perception of the C-suite? Are you buying just into people and it's 95% people, 5% idea? Is it 95% idea and yeah, that entrepreneur is pretty solid, I like that 5% is a win now? Or is it 50-50? Like, how do you evaluate your investment of both capital and time?
Josh, perfect question. Perfect question, because this is what people need to hear if you are looking for investors. I don't know the exact number, but let's say 80-20. 80% is the owners or the C-suite.
Wow. That's big.
It's huge. And I'll explain myself. I have invested into brilliant ideas when I didn't love the ownership that much. Those businesses, I don't know if I can even think of one that's still here. They're all gone.
Wow.
I've invested into owners who I loved, whose business idea I was like, that's pretty good. That's good enough to get started. And those are flourishing. And here's the key reason why. I haven't dealt with a ton of businesses that started on this path and stayed on this path. And this is where they made their impact on the world. Usually businesses start here and just little pivot here, little pivot here, little pivot here. I'm not talking, hey, we were started in nutraceuticals, we ended up cleaning floors. No.
Right.
But these little pivots. And if you aren't a strong entrepreneur and if you don't have a good C-suite, you're going, we don't know what to do. Just keep trying to do the same thing, even though the market is telling us to change.
Okay. All right. So it's people. And what is your process for evaluating people?
Oh, that's a great question too. First and foremost, I really listen to my gut. We fight this a lot. There's people you meet that you're just like, I really like this guy. I can't put my finger on why, but I like this guy. I'm drawn into him. I want to hang out with him. I would like to do lunch with this person. Then there's people that you're like, I don't know what it is. I just don't get a great vibe. This might sound weird, but please stay with me for a second. Sure. This is the difference between scarcity mindset and abundance mindset. And this shows up in a lot of places in our life. Scarcity mindset goes, yeah, but I don't get a lot of opportunities to invest like this. And I was told this is a once in a lifetime thing. So even though my gut says I don't like this person that much, okay, I'll give you my money. Abundance mindset says, this is one of literally billions of opportunities. Why am I going to put my money and my time and my care and love into an investment walking in on day one when I'm like, I don't get a good vibe from this person? And now, I want to be clear. I'm not just saying, this person is bad. I'm saying I'm just not drawn to this person. So all I've learned to do, and this I think is being part of my authentic self and why it's so important that each person learns who their authentic self is, because if you're not your authentic self, you're going to be attracted to the wrong people. But once you really find out who you are authentically, you're drawn and you will magnetize in the right people. You will have to learn to say no. And I say no to a lot of people, but then when I find that one person, I'm like, here we go. I'm glad I waited.
That's really cool. So tell me, and I'll give you an anecdote. I had a friend and he was extremely high net worth. His father was a co-founder of a national brand. I'll leave the last name out of it and I can tell you offline if you're interested, but
I would.
He was very lost, and he was lost because he hadn't made his way in the world. It wasn't his money. It was dad's money.
Yeah.
And by the time he was in his late 40s, early 50s, he was so lost that a couple of things. One, he wouldn't get close to people because he was always a financial target. And he had 2 failed relationships because the women knew him after money, not before money. And he was a financial target for them.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me that he would never get close to me because it was a very good chance I would ask him for investment funds, and he didn't want to be disappointed in me for seeing him as a target. And so I didn't get to know him very well because he was already guarded. I actually had it on my calendar to call him regularly and remind him that there are some people out there who don't see only dollar signs. But he never believed it. And finally he OD'd. He's not with us anymore. And I remember thinking about how grave that more money, more problems thing was for him. And anybody who is of a net worth that could invest, you're among a nice long list on this globe of people who have money enough to invest in something other than the stock market, right? It's not the transactional stuff. It's I have an idea, give me money.
Yeah. That
makes you potentially a target.
Yep.
How often are you getting pitched? How do people find you? Not don't give me your email address, but I mean, how are they finding their way to you? And how are you balancing as the person who is potentially the target, weeding out the wheat from the chaff?
Oh man, brother, I love this conversation, by the way. So thank you. It's very fulfilling already. And you're a really wise human being. So I'm really enjoying this. So thank you for that. I am absolutely a target. And it's wild because it's almost like you pull out the wallet a little bit and everybody can smell it.
Right.
And say it again.
I just agree. I've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're just drawn to it. And again, this goes back to my last comment. So people rewind it and listen to it again. This is where you have to have your authenticity figured out, because to answer some of your questions there, I get pitched, I don't know, let's say 3 or 4 times a week.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And it's ramping up because I'm putting myself out there in different places that, I don't know, open me up to it even more. So it's like almost every single business day of the week, I'm getting a pitch. So it's pretty easy for me to shave off a bunch right from the get-go. Again, talking about authenticity, there's a bunch of things that I would just never invest in because of who I am. And I'll tell you a few, and I just want to be clear here. I'm not bad-mouthing those things. It's just not from Markus and Markus's family. Like, my wife and I have agreed we won't put money into alcohol or marijuana or any type of those type of drugs. We won't put it into anything that has to do with people's addictions or that can bring people down. So, gambling or, whatever else fits into that pile, that's an easy no. I'm so sorry. It sounds like a great business. I wish you well. I don't judge anybody who's involved in it, but just not for Markus. So there's that. There's a bunch of easy ones to just go, that just isn't for me. But then there's still a big pile of, hey, here's potential. Here's a potential investment opportunity. And so now it's having conversations with the owners. But, it's really funny because to get past stage 1 and 2, that's not exactly easy. Like, I get emails. I don't even know how they get my email. And it's like, that's an awkward way. Like, if you're hoping to get hundreds of thousands of dollars from me, I don't think that'll ever happen on a cold call. I just don't. And
right. So you've got to have some networking connection that would at least warm up the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And now, before anybody listens and goes, oh, so I'm just dead in the water even before I start, like, I don't have connections. Well, if you're not willing to put yourself out there and find connections, then you're absolutely right. So here, let me give you an answer right now. Start going to more networking events. Go to events. And again, wow, I keep going back to this, and I'm not doing it on purpose. It's naturally leading me there. You need to be your authentic self. And what I mean by that is this. There are a billion networking events all the time. Don't go to events to Gary V if you don't like Gary V. Because guess
right.
who's in that room? A whole bunch of people who love Gary V. So with all due respect to Gary V, I think he's done amazing things. He's not my style of guy. For one, I don't like swearing. Like, it upsets my system to hear somebody swear that much. No judgment. That's his thing. But it doesn't work for me. So if I'm in a room of Gary V lovers, what do you think the chance of them using foul language are? I'm going to go with
100% plus. Yeah.
Right? So what do you think the chance of me investing in someone in that room? It's much smaller than if I go to an Ed Milet or a John Gordon. So these guys are Christian men who I love, who I listen to. These are two of my mentors. And so again, please listen to my language here, people. These are my mentors. Like, I listen to them. I like their language. I like how they speak. I like how they think. So if I go into a room with Ed Milet or John Gordon and these people, guess who else is in that room? A bunch of guys like me who go, I like the way Ed Milet talks and thinks and speaks. That is a way greater chance that I'm going to run into a few people who I'm like, I like this guy. And you just connect. And you know what? Allow me to give you a great story. One of my favorite investments, and it has taken major, beautiful turns just this week. So I was a platinum partner with Tony Robbins for some time. Tony has been a mentor of mine for 31 years.
Can I pause you there for a second?
Please.
A lot of people I know say that John Maxwell is their mentor. And what they mean by that is they've read a lot of books and they did a photo op with him one time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've worked directly with John. I wouldn't call him my mentor. I'd call him somebody who is a great client. Yep. And in the moment, a wonderful friend because he's a friend to everybody. But I can't call him on his cell phone. And awesome. It's not the relationship we have, but it's real. But a lot of people, he's their mentor and they have no relationship at all. So when you say Tony's your mentor, what do you mean?
I love that you're asking this question. There's actually two ways I want to answer that. One is with Tony Robbins. So I do know Tony. But to be clear, if you said Markus Kaulius, I don't know for certain Tony's going to go, Markus, but he is Tony, so he might. We've traveled together. We've spent some time together. But
that's enough for me to know it's legitimate compared to the person who bought his DVD set in 1992.
Sure. However, I also want to say I have not yet met Ed Milet. We run in the same circles. We have lots of friends, like close friends in common. We just haven't met yet. I still call him my mentor. So I think this is actually a really important distinction, because you can absolutely have mentors that you haven't met. You don't have to be close friends with them. Ed Milet is my mentor. Why? Because I've read his books. I've listened to thousands of hours of his podcast.
Wow.
The way he speaks actually transforms my life. Like I go, that's awesome, Ed. Let me write that down. Let me think about that. You know what? I used that today. He's my mentor. There's nothing wrong with that. So people listening, you don't have to be, well, Markus has the money to hang out with Tony Robbins. That's bullcrap. I got to meet Tony like 3 years ago or something like that, 4 years ago. So for 27 years, he was my mentor without me knowing him or him knowing me.
Awesome. It's a really nice distinction there. Yeah, I like that. So, and since you do have friends in common with Ed, I'm going to challenge you to call Ed. You really should go hang out with him, because I've found every time I run into John.
Yeah.
And it's been maybe 10 times where I've actually had quality time in the room working with him. I learned something that I could not have learned from one of his books. I learned something by the way he operates in a room.
Yeah.
I learned, by an anecdote that he tells. There's something about guys like that, and I'm sure Ed's one of them. I'm that certain. You get in the room, and to somebody else, you're their mentor, and so you're dropping the knowledge too, which is just interesting that even the mentors need mentors.
Yes.
I think you got to go hang out with Ed Milet.
I agree with you, and I know it's going to happen. It'll probably happen in the next 12 months, but the timing has to be right. I don't want to just show up as a fan. Yeah. So, Josh, allow me, I'm going to finish this little piece, because I think people are going to love how we connect the dots here. So at one of Tony's events, I'm in the audience and I get to meet this guy named Trey. And Trey and I have met just lightly online through Tony, but right away we were both like, oh, I love this guy. I love this Trey guy. I love his energy. So we started talking, and then a week later or 2 weeks later, we're on Zoom together, and we're like, "Oh man, I just love you, Trey. Anything I can do to support you." And maybe a month or two later, he's like, "Hey, I just want to tell you, the business I'm doing these days, and it's called Yaystack. It's one of the coolest apps I've ever seen in my life." And just to give you I'm not trying to pitch you, but you got to hear this. It's geocaching. So you remember Pokemon Go, and people are running around with their phones trying to get the little Yep. This is geocaching, but don't forget, that's like 20-year-old technology. So this is the new tech. It's unreal what it can do. And what we do is we drop huge prizes from Chick-fil-A, Lululemon, Starbucks, Amazon, all the rock brands, like the coolest brands. And we're just dropping free stuff. And so you get notified and you're like, oh my goodness, 2 blocks from me, there's a drop. And you get over there. Super fun. And so when he said, this is what I'm doing, and I was like, do you need investment money? What do you need right now? And he was like, of course, I'd love to have you part of it. And boom, now we're business partners. So there's how easily things can tic-tac-toe. I'm not saying it's going to happen easy for you. I'm not saying you're going to just walk into a room and all of a sudden I've got investors and all that. But if you don't put yourself out there, I'm going to say you have almost 0% chance of getting an investor. So put yourself in the right rooms and really put yourself out there just to start having conversations. And the last piece of advice I'd love to give you on that, it's an encouragement just to say, figure out a fun little thing that you're going to say to people when you're being introduced. Not too weird, but just think of something fun like, hey, my name is Markus and I'm Lithuanian. You're welcome. Just something that people are going to go, what? Well, why did you, what? And now, of course, they're going to go around being like, hey, have you met the Lithuanian? And that's happened. That's the kind of conversation. Just little something funny and weird to have you stand out in their minds, to Is everyone going to go like, hey, it's Mark? No, some people are going to be like, why would you do that? What a weirdo. I'm okay with that. That's me being my authentic self. I'm not here to impress everybody, and I'm not going to water myself down to make sure that everybody somewhat likes my cup of tea. No, I am a strong Lithuanian tea that maybe you've never tasted before. Some people are going to love it. Some people aren't going to care for it. But the people who love it, now we're going to be in a real conversation and we might do business together.
I love that introduction. So that's why I'm the hippie capitalist, and I'll introduce myself as the hippie capitalist, and that's why I dress loud.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's it's really comfortable for me.
See, everybody, please take a second to really digest this. This might be the most valuable thing we've talked about yet. The hippie capitalist, look at his shirt. This is beautiful. Some people are going to be drawn to this like, who's this freaking guy? The hippie capitalist, that's freaking awesome. Other people are going to be like, hippie, capitalist, I don't like that shirt. Who cares? Who cares? That is the same person that's online like, I'm going to trash you online right now. Who cares? Don't change yourself. Be yourself. Now, don't also go buy this shirt if you're like, that's not my kind of shirt. I guess I'm just trying to stand out.
Be you.
Be you.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting stuff. I'm glad you're the second person today I've had a conversation like this around. Dawn Sipley was on the previous episode, and she knows that women rarely wear hats. So she'll go to networking events and she'll have some kind of a fashion hat that goes with her outfit.
Yes.
Because when somebody's pointing like, hey, you got to meet Dawn, they'll point across the room and go, it's the only lady in the hat.
That's awesome. That's brilliant.
Off topic, on topic. Are you why I'm a Yaystack user? Did I find it through you?
I don't know. That's awesome. So you are a Yaystack user already?
I have Yaystack. I was approached through, I want to say LinkedIn. Somebody's like, hey, you got to test this. I was in the first 100 users.
Phenomenal. That's crazy.
It's a cool platform. And honestly, where I am in Orlando, there isn't a lot being dropped yet. A lot of the activities up in the Georgia area, a lot around Atlanta. And see, I'm really a user. All right. So I've had it on my radar that like the next time I head up to Atlanta, that I was going to go and geocache on Yaystack with the family. But I looked at the platform and it's clean, it's user friendly. Yeah. And I think to me, if anybody joins it, especially if you're in the Atlanta area, you've got to have notifications on. Because if you don't have notifications on, you won't know that something just dropped and you won't have a chance of being the first one. So now you're just an observer, you're not a participant. So this is a notifications on app, but I think there's a ton of potential. Is Atlanta where Trey is from?
Yeah. So, and we're still proving it there. And the key to it, you've already hit on it. There has to be regular drops or else it's like, well, why am I going on this app? So every day near Atlanta, it's actually just outside, it's Peachtree, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Every single day, there are like hundreds, if not thousands of drops already there. So it's spectacular. We've given away, I think we're coming up on $500,000 right now. Just giveaways, just boom, huge. And they're huge, like $150 gift cards at Lululemon, but also $5 and $10 gift cards at Lululemon. Chick-fil-A is so generous. They are just nonstop, boom, sandwiches, ice cream. Let's go. And as soon as we're actually really close to the next step, which is, hey, let's do it all of Georgia and let's do it in New York or let's do it in Florida. And once we've proven a few more, then I think you and I both know what happens. And then it just goes boom.
Yeah. And I think major cities are the right thing. I mean, you got to go where there's population centers because that is the easiest launch target. I think New York's a good one. I think Austin might be a good market for you because everybody's kind of game for the party. Yep. Yeah. So it's something I was thinking of, and not that I wanted to necessarily get into a brainstorming session on a particular industry or product, but there might be an interesting angle when you find the big national nonprofits like American Lung, American Heart, where, if Chick-fil-A is dropping a certain amount of things, you can collect hearts for the Chick-fil-A campaign within there in order to get like matching funds donated to a certain cause. So I think there's possibly a nonprofit play so that your winning something also turns into a donation.
Cool. Really,
the credit comes back to. Well, I like, word of mouth is an interesting thing, and if you can get American Lung to share word of mouth on a scale where it's like, hey, everybody, if you download Yaystack and go get free Chick-fil-A, you're going to give us donations, and their email list is enormous. And the people who care about American Heart, American Lung, any of those, they usually are attached to it for a reason that's very personal.
Cool.
And so you'll find groups of people getting together to go geocache to make sure that American Heart, American Lung, or any of those other ones are getting funded. And then they'll go have a celebratory meal with one or two of the free meals they got from, Chick-fil-A or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a group culture thing there that I think would really align well with campaign thinking within Yaystack. It's not that Yaystack necessarily has to be a campaign, pitch, but different clients could easily leverage campaign thinking if you can put the right parts together.
Oh, that's beautiful, brother. I love it. And by the way, that truly aligns with who we are at Yaystack, because not only do we give back constantly, but also with money that comes in, we give a lot of that back. We work with the Tim Tebow Foundation, pulling kids out of the sex trade. And again, I'm so into brands that give back to our community, that have real impact. I mean, that's like my number one.
That is phenomenal. So what is your next investment? Do you have your eye on something?
Funny that you ask. About a week ago, I signed a deal. So I'm officially, as of right now, the managing partner of a venture capital corporation down in California.
Wow.
And my partners have something called Naked Developments. And it's not what you think it is.
Sure, good. Southern California could have been that, but I know your personality would not align with that.
They develop apps, and they literally, if you Google them, they're recognized as the top app developer on the planet. And all these people come in to have apps built. Now there's an arm of this company that says, we're going to help mentor you, help you with entrepreneurship, even give you a bit of a discount by taking a piece of ownership of your company. And then we take it a step further. We also make big introductions to investors, including myself. And we will eventually be having a fund that funds the best apps so that they can come to market faster.
That's really cool. You say that with such a smile. That tells me you're having fun with this.
Brother, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. In every way, this uses every one of my favorite gifts. And it lights me up so much. I love helping entrepreneurs realize their dreams. Like that's my definition of success. That might have been on the last show, by the way, if we talked about what's your definition of success.
Yeah.
So I love that. But I love being in conversations like this about being an entrepreneur, about investing, about what success looks like, about what your future is going to bring. Let's say your app's successful. What are you going to do with it? I want to make sure I'm helping people from day one, actually from day -1, so that they learn what they're going to do. And if I don't get a sense like this is someone who's going to make a positive impact in the world, I don't want to be part of your company. My life is too short and I don't care about the dollars. I'm good. I'm good with money. Now my life is 100% about impact. And my goal and what I think I'm supposed to be doing with my time and my life is to help bring up the next generation of leaders who will be about impact.
That's outstanding. You know, what's actually really interesting is I have my hands on an app right now that is looking for investment, is already to market in a small, medium way. And nice. I need to tell you more about it off the air.
That would be awesome. Please.
Yeah. I'm pleasantly surprised. A true story. My friend who invented this whole thing told me about it over lunch 12, 13, 14 years ago. And I was just like, all right, you do it, man. And then like last year, I'm sitting at a different lunch in a different city and somebody's telling me about this app that they're going to see if they can start leveraging. And it's like, did a guy named Bill invent that? And they're like, how do you know the CEO? And I'm like, I got to call him. I called him and he's like,
brother.
Yeah, we're in growth mode. And he goes, I need your help. And so I'm kind of back in the fray with him. And this one has legs, my friend. This one has legs.
So cool.
Very cool. Well, I love a purposeful appointment. This is interesting. This is fun. Your last thought on what somebody who wishes they could find a investor should do today to put themselves on the right path.
Oh, great question. You know, this might be a bit of a big answer and it might be a slight tangent, but it's really important that people hear this. You need to make sure you are doing the things to bring out the best in yourself. I think this is a much more simple concept than this world will lead you to believe. If you look at your schedule, look at your habits, you can tell who's going to be successful and who's not. It's really easy. So do a good self-assessment today. Look at your schedule. Look at the habits you have in your life and be honest and say, is this person going to be successful? I would say more than 99% of the time, the answer is no. And people have this, well, you know, people worse than me have been successful. That's true. People also win the lottery. And it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out for them, by the way.
Yeah.
When you look at your schedule, you can now create your own schedule. Say, if I want to be a healthier version of myself, or I want more energy, I got to start exercising. It has to be in here. I have to start eating right. It has to be in here. It's not a maybe. It's not a one day. It's today. So start doing that stuff. And people like me, investors like me, are looking for exactly that. Are you somebody who has created a winning plan in your own life? Not just like, hey, I've got a pretty good business idea. Okay, that's cool. We already established. That's about 20% of it. The 80% is, who are you? Let me see your life. Let me see your schedule. Let me see your habits. And it doesn't take me long to go, I'm really sorry. You got to get your crap figured out first. Because if you don't have your crap figured out, how is this business going to do anything? How's this idea going to flourish? If you are falling apart, there's no chance at this. So no, I'm sorry. You can't have my money.
That it's a strong message, but it's a really good one. And it is something you can start on today. You can purpose to go ahead and say, I today will eat healthier, exercise a little bit more, make sure that I sleep, read the self-help book that orients my mind so that I'm prepared in order to take on the next challenge. It sounds hippy dippy and it sounds a little bit rinse and repeat because other people have said it too. But if it's true, it's true.
Yes. Yeah. And if enough of successful people are saying this, can you at least say, maybe there's something to it? Maybe it's not just a line that all successful people somehow got together and started saying. There's so much truth to it. You'll find
what a bizarre scam that would be. Could you imagine if all the successful people got together and said, let's tell everybody to work out and eat healthy. It'll be hilarious. Like it's just not a thing.
So good, Josh.
Thanks, man. Well, I'm going to call this a powerful episode, and I'm going to remind our audience right now, Bootstrapped Unicorns, if you don't know who Markus Kaulius is, he wrote Play a Bigger Game. You should buy that book. You should devour that book. It's right over his shoulder. You should spend time with your new mentor, Markus, and learn a little bit about what he believes, because what he believes has brought blessings, many blessings to his business life, his family life. It's not wrong to emulate people who have done something right in their lives. They've figured something out that you may not have. And he's a good man to listen to. So I'm proud to call him a newer friend in my life. He has already been influential and I know will continue to be. And you can say the same thing because we've learned what a mentor is. It's somebody who has influence in your life. And over time, maybe you get to know them, maybe you don't. But either way, you know the spirit of them and that can affect you. Go buy the book and go back to work.